this. Okay, so this part is about we will talk about the second part of particle swarm optimization, in which we already talked about some basic knowledge, basic theory, and basic flow, including the example about particle swarm optimization. And I just uploaded in YouTube, so if you want to check that one first before go to this second part of particle swarm optimization. Okay, the first part I think we have covered until this point number 8, including introduction, theory, basic flow, how to update velocity in the PSO, how to update the location, and the pseudocode and numerical examples, and about a little bit about the velocity limitation of the velocity to make how to make the PSO move smoothly. And in this topic, we will cover, let me see here. Okay, this is the purple part we already covered. And then for this second part, we will cover a little bit more on the discussion related to how we select the parameter for PHO. Because if you remember that there is several parameters need to be set before you're able to use the particle swarm optimization. Well, every meta heuristic have those similar. Normally, they will have this. There is this kind of similar consideration, because the way you set the parameter will determine how good the performance of your meta heuristic. So you need to be first able to understand what each parameters contributed to. For example, in particle swarm optimization, you will have parameter like number of particles being used to search the solution space, and then how far or how big is the influence of the current velocity, how big is the influence of their personal or cognitive learning, and then how big is the influence of their social or the neighborhood of their particles or in the swarm, something like that. Okay, so that's several particle you need to tune, or we can say enhance, so that the result will be robust, will be fast, and then will be generating a good quality solutions. And then another things that we will talk about is how do you define the topology and neighborhood, because this is another important thing. Neighborhood is about how do you move from one particular solution to another, but in this one, topology and neighborhood means like how do you consider which particle will interact with another particle. So topology is about the networks, the relations between one particle to another particle. In basic PSO, the topology is all particle is connected to every other particle. Right. So it means like you can learn from every other individuals. One particle can learn from every other individual in their populations. Okay, but some PSO modification is make it more interesting by having like limited number of connections. Okay, for example, one particle can only connect it with several other particles, and in which it is more complex, but somehow it can also improve the result of the searching. And the next topics is about, okay, previously we only show the example of how PSO can solve a real decision variable problem. For example, you want to find the value of x and y in the simple formula in which it can be normally solved using a simple calculus. But actually PSO is more than that, much more than that. So instead of only using for real value decision variables to search the value for decision variable that belong to real value for optimization problems, you can also use PSO for problems that belong to binary problems, discrete problems like PSP and stuff. TSP scheduling problems, and many more. So those are another topic that we will cover, but still only in the basic or on just on top of the surface. And then about how do you diversify the particles. So in the previous illustration, we see that at the end of the iteration, every particles or every individuals will go to the same sources if they only have one type of single optimal solution. All of this particle will move toward that objective function like you see in the illustration. But sometimes because there is the field or the searching space is too complex, particle swarm optimization tend to converge. We say that every particle going on or in the same direction, and at the end of the day point to the same location or point to the same objective function. It means that those individual is converging, or it refer to one value or one objective function or one decision variables. Okay, a particular decision variables, not one, a particular. So is it good or not good? Depends. When you want to find an objective solution for your optimization problems, you want to find the best, right? The best, whether it's the minimize or the minimum or the maximum. Okay, if you can find this best objective function rather fast, it is very good, right? Because you can find the optimal solution and fast. That is the ultimate goals actually for any optimization approach or any optimization methods. Find the solution fast and the solution is good, very good, something like that. But there is normally trade-off. When you want to give the solution fast, normally the result will not be that good. Okay, that's the trade-off normally. For example, when you use heuristic algorithms, the problem specific heuristic, it will be really fast because they are designed to be work fast, but they might not be designed to give you the optimal solution. That's why they are fast. But in another hand, when you use exact solution, okay, mathematical programming, AMPL, any other solver, you get the solution very good, right? A very good solution, and they guarantee you an optimal solution, even though even they guarantee you optimal solution, but with the trade-off longer computational life, right? So there is two trade-off here. And meta-heuristic try to play in between. They want to provide you a better solution compared to the heuristics, right? By allowing to approach word solutions, but they want to also achieve the best solution that might be possible to be found by using these algorithms, like what we have in the exact method. Okay, so meta-heuristic play in between, and to do that you need to have some strategy. Now this strategy we already explained earlier. There is exploration strategy, try to explore more area, or exploitation and strategy. When you have a good candidate solution, you try to modify from that instead of moving around again. And in PSO, we use this kind of strategy, so-called diversity among particles, to have, because we know that PSO have tendency to be in the same location or converge fast, okay? But that it doesn't mean converge fast give you a good result, okay? So you need to balance between the how fast it is converging with how good they explore all the searching space in the area. So this is what we are going to talk about, diversity among the particles. And then the last one is about constraint handling. It's like when you have your particle location going out of the boundary, what you will do. Okay, that's the simple concept. And I will try to show you the code at the end of this slide. And perhaps for the detail on how I code it, I will not explain it today, because again, I will try to save your time, because you will need much your time to do the project instead of trying this one. But this, I will just try to give you the introduction, and hopefully it will be useful later when you really need it, perhaps like when you are going to use this for your thesis or use this for your project, something like that. Okay, let's start first by introducing you to all the parameters that normally or commonly used in PSO. First, there is swarm size. Okay, the larger the swarm size, normally give you a better chance to explore more solution. Okay, because it's in swarm size represent how many individual in your swarm or in your population. For example, you want to have 5, you want to have 10, you want to have 100. Then the question actually is, how do you determine? Okay, this is what we will learn in tuning parameters. But for now, the easiest way is normally try to see from the previous literature what number they use for the similar problems that you are working on. What is the number? And then try from that initial point before you try to add and reduce the number of swarm size. I think that's a good point to start. And then we also have all the parameters here. Okay, this one actually related to this formula. This is like the main formula in PSO. You need to know how they move from one solution to another solution, right? How they explore the searching space. Basically, PSO is only using this formula, okay, or modified of this one. So first we have here the next velocity, and here is the current velocity. W represent the inertia weight, or how big or how large you consider the current velocity as your guideline for the next searching. Okay, and then you have this one, R1 C1, and then R2 C2 here. This is belong to acceleration constant, or can be about the weight of the learning, that can also be mentioned as like that. Okay, this one is like R is random value, C1 is how large do you consider this, P base minus X. So the location of your current personal base, the best decision variable from your personal experience, compared to your current location, current solutions. So if I illustrate this, like for now, for example, you are now a master degree student. But before become a master degree student, let's say you want, the objective is, I want to maximize my monthly salary. This is your objective. X is your current affiliation, okay? The current job that you are doing, okay? And you want to in your life, let's say you have an objective, I want to maximize my monthly salary. Then I want to decide what kind of X or job that I need to do. Okay, so if we make it relate like that with the PSO, that's the decision variables. And then here you want to see when you consider to have a movement, right? To have an improvement in your life. What should I do next? Okay, this part is to consider your current direction. For example, you are now engineer in one company. Okay, what if my trajectory for the future if I consider this as my path for the next? Okay, and then this one is about perhaps if you have a previous job, okay, previous job, and then the best salary being generated from your previous job is from what kind of job? For example, this is X represent the jobs that you are taking, right? So for example, previously I have experience becoming an what now engineer, previously maybe athletes, okay, let's say basketball athletes before become engineer maybe. Okay, oh, basketball athletes, I have experience. When I become basketball athletes, my salary is this amount. Now when I become engineer is this amount. Okay, this is the formula that illustrate how do you consider when you compare your previous best. Let's say the at that time your salary is much higher when you become the basketball player. Okay, and then you compare, now I become engineer, perhaps it's less. I'm not saying this is true in life, this is just an example. Okay, so now you compare that one. So this is the formula to represent that one. And then this part is learn from your personal experience. And the third part here, this is current trajectory, becoming engineer. Okay, this one comparing becoming engineer compared to basketball player. Okay, now you see that the last part is learning from the environment or from your social or your circle in the neighborhood. Okay, so that's why you sometimes we also compare. I see other people, this is the other people, they become, let's say, businessmen. Oh, businessmen have a lot of salary or have a lot of money. Maybe if I compare my location or my solution now, where the job that I'm taking is an engineer, I compare to him, what if I try to go to that direction also a little bit? This part is to represent those conditions. Learn from your social or your neighborhood. Okay, so that's how particle swarm optimization philosophy actually, if we try to make it relate to real life. But that's only an example. It might not be true, but I hope that can make you easier to understand the concept of this formula in PSO. There is three parts: current, personal, and social. Okay, that's why the story is interesting, but the formula is sometimes troublesome to look at when you not used to it. And then velocity limit we already discussed previously. It's about how do you make the journey is smooth, the movement from one location from the other locations is not too jumpy, so that you need to have a limit for that. Okay, first, okay, we discuss one by one again. Okay, about the swarm size is swarm size is the number of population, the number of individual in the population or population size. Normally, this is just a common rule, 10 to 50. But again, if your problem is large, decision variable is too many, you maybe need more than this one. So it really depends. Okay, it has been shown that in the several literature, PSO sometimes needs smaller populations. Okay, when you give too many individual in the populations, the learning is slower. Okay, because so many people, so many individual that you need to consider one by one to learn from. It makes the searchings is a little bit too explorative, so that the algorithms it's slower to reach the higher solution quality. But if you have too small, okay, that's also not good, because you are not exploring, maybe you will not exploring so many area. Yeah, if you have more people, you will explore more area, right? But if you less people, you explore less area. So that's the trade-off. Maybe if you have less area to people to explore the area, that can also reduce the quality of the solution. So it's really there is a way that you need to do the how to determine the best out of these tuning parameters. Okay, and inertia weight. Okay, inertia weight is about how you consider your current trajectory. Okay, your current trajectory, and then actually, if you have a large amount of consideration for your trajectory, yeah, it means that you really trust your current direction, right? But normally we will try to balance, and then we in several particle swarm optimization implementation, it is also have the unique approach, like at the initial iteration. So when you at first during the initial searching space, initial time you search for those solution, normally some implementator try to give big value for the inertia weight. What it does, it means you want to explore more at the initial. Okay, yeah, if you go back to the case of that finding a job for maximum salary, perhaps we at the initial searching. Okay, let's say when you just graduate from your BS, bachelor degree, normally we will try to explore a lot of options, right? Go to this company and then find another company with different field. Okay, even though sometimes with the different skill set. Okay, you explore more. So that's how do you that's how you can set the inertia weight. And then at the end of your iterations, I don't want to say it's about your how long you will live, but yes, somehow it represents, let's say, people working until 55 or 60, right? Yeah, that's the normal age, or 65. Okay, when you have your age is about 20 or 25, even until 30, you will be still more explorative, try to find a lot of options, a lot of things to explore. But when you start 30 or 35 and even more, then you will start to thinking, okay, perhaps I will a little bit slow down on my explorations, but more to exploit what can I do best, right? Where I can perform best. Okay, maybe my optimal area will be around that. Okay, and that one is we call exploitation. Explore small area that you consider might give you the best result for the decision that you're going to make. Okay, so normally for inertia weight, we will let them explore at the initial as much as possible, but try to reduce the exploration. Reduce the exploration near the when you have already near the end of the iterations. That's why you can use this type of formula to apply that dynamics inertia wave. Okay, yeah, I hope that can give you a little bit a more non-technical explanations, but this is the simple way to explain it. And then, yeah, about the acceleration constant, I already explained to you earlier. There is, we discussed about this one, W, okay, it's about the initial wave. Acceleration constant, the normal PSO or standard PSO normally have these two type of acceleration constant, whether it's consider cognition factor or the self-confidence or the personal experience. We call that one C2. This is a multiplier, okay? Or it's considered the swarm confidence, how confident you with the result from your social circle, okay? Or social factor, here you go. If you consider the both factor as your consideration, so we can put the value for C1 and C2, all should be greater than 0. But if you want to consider the cognition only consider your self-confidence or your personal experience. Then you can set the C2 greater than 0 or C1 greater than 0, or but C2 is equal to 0. And then you check the social only, C1 is equal 0 and C2 is greater than 0. It's just like the opposite. Okay. How does this one affect? Okay. Yeah, of course, when you put the C1 0, it means that here is 0, right? When you consider social only, it means this one will be neglected because the value of 0, whatever you multiply it with, it will be neglected. So you just consider the social part of it, and the other way around. There is another configuration also, which is called selfless. Okay, when it's C1 is equal to 0, so know this one, and C2 is equal to 0. Okay, C2 greater than 0. Okay, here, and G base is not equals I. So it means that when okay, when the value of this is not equal, it's not equal with yourself, so you just follow whatever the best in your circle do, then you follow that one selfless. And about the velocity limit, okay, the velocity limit is like similar to inertia, but instead of controlling the part of the way you calculate the velocity, now you controlling the velocity, the end result, the end velocity you consider. Normally we restrict it, the velocity, to prevent the oscillation, because sometimes the velocity is too high, and then sometimes it's negative. Okay, so that's why you need to make it more stable, so the movement is more smooth. And then normally we can also use range, like minus v maximum until v maximum, or you can use the factor, the generated multiplier to the depends on the x is represent the decision variable, right? So normally this value of the velocity follow the value of the decision variable that you're using. Okay. And this is about swarm topology. It's like normally in normal PSO, you consider all the individual is connected to each other. Okay, so all is connected. But sometimes for larger networks, this one might not be efficient. So sometimes we can also try several types of neighborhood topology. Okay, there is something called ring topology, there is tree topology, and so on. If you ask the question, which one is the best? Yeah, normally it's difficult to answer that questions analytically. Normally we will use an experiment to answer that. So for example, you have this idea to implement like this ring topology in your PSO, and then you want to compare which one is better, ring or fully connected network PSO. We will not use analytical tool, or you will not prove this using some mathematical formula, But normally you will experiment this, how many best solution it can found using this configuration, how many best solution, and then what is the average of the solution it can found, and then something like that. We will use experiment to answer that. Okay, star topology and stuff. Okay, now we talk about the solution representation. Okay, solution representation is how do you code your problems in the PSO frameworks. For example, if your problem is about binary problems, you want to make a decision 1 and 0, right? 1 and 0. It's like, for example, your P median problems. You have facility 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example. You want to select 2 out of these 6. So you can use the binary representation, for example. Oh, I use the decision facility 1. So this is equal to 1. The x is equal to 1. 0, 0. And let's say if you only 1, you will choose this one. Later, if they increase the parameter for a number of facility you can use, perhaps you need to select more, right? Which one do you choose? Let's say you choose 3, then you represent it like this. 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. That is the solution representation for binary. The question now is like, how do you apply those real number formula, the formula of the PSO, phi, the next Vt plus 1 equals W multiplied by Vt, this one, P base, G base. How do you apply this formula? That one worked for real number. Then now you want to use it for binary. How do you do that? Okay. Of course, first you need to apply the same formula. You use the same way, and then you limit perhaps the location should only be greater than 0 and less than equal, greater than equal to 0 or less than equal to 1. And then you can use the simple transformation. For example, you use the middle value. You have the value of the x, for example, here 1 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example, like this, right? Then here you have 0 0.2, 0 0.01, 0 0.5, 0 0.3, 0 0.6, 0 0.7. Then you can use this transformation. If it is greater than 0.5, you put it equals to 0. If not, you put it equal to 1. So this one will go 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. So you open 3, 4, and 5, something like that. That's how you can do the transformation. Okay, another one is discrete PSO. Discrete PSO have so many way to we call this one encoding, because from real number that is decoded, you try to encode it, become a solution representation that is understandable by the reader or by the decision maker. Okay, I'm not going to explain all of this, but basically the picture will show you a little bit a glimpse of idea on how we can use discrete. We can use PSO that is designed for real number, real value decision variable, can be solved discrete problems. Okay, we can use rounding, discreting, gray, binary decoding. Basically, all of this is to comply with the decision variables being used in your problems. Okay, for example, now you want to have the number of 1 to 6, then you can use the rounding, round to the nearest integer. Very simple, right? For example, 1.6, it's rounded become maybe 2, or because the nearest integer is 2. Okay, or another way also possible, but this is I'm not going to touch in detail. I think it's easier to explain by example later if I have time to code it. And then another is like you have the range. For example, you want to select 1 until 4. You have the range here, 0 until 1. You see where your decision variables ends up. It's similar with the previous example, but this is called discretizing, so convert it from real value to discrete. Okay, yeah. In the case of like I said earlier, sometimes the algorithms is the problem is complex. Sometimes it only has one optimal solution. Sometimes it has multiple optimal solution. We call that one multi-picks. Okay, this type of problems, for example, if you want to find a solution about the x and y earlier. Okay, this one represent the area that you are going to search. Okay, for example, the dark red here, I put here this. Let's say they have two optimal solution, this and this, same value. So your particle will confuse. Sometimes it goes here, sometimes it go here. Okay, because it has two good direction. Okay, so in this case, basically we are okay with the particle. Even it is better if the particle can explore more area before it's conclude that the current area is the best one. Sometimes PSO have tendency to converge only one point, and then sometimes it's also being fooled by the topography of the solution. So we can say that the algorithm think that this is the best one, but actually there may be another one that is better, and it's called normally trapped in local optimal. And to avoid so basically meta heuristic trying to avoid this at all costs, because trap in local optimal will make your result so bad. Okay, and sometimes it's even worse than the problem generated heuristics that normally worse than meta heuristic approach. So in order to reduce these problems, you can use the strategy called diversity among particle. So you try to maintain each particle have different characteristics. For example, your first particle, let's say the value of the decision variable is 1 and 1. And then the second particle also 1 and 1. The third particle also 1 and 1. So then if all the same like this, when you exchange informations, there is no improvement yet you can get. They will give you the same information. Oh, the best that I found is this one. The best that the global best is this one. So no diversification. So you need to able to explore more. You need to have diversification in your algorithms. And there is several ways to introduce the diversity or to maintain the diversification. For example, there is something called special particle extension, and then basically it's shown by here. When it's too close to each other, we try to make it bounce one another and something like that. Another one is to introduce some random variables or random value based on the position of the current location that you have, or based on the velocity that will be used to move the individual in the algorithm. So this is called dissipative PSO, introducing some randomness. Okay, sometimes we also have I think this is just the terminology. It's called craziness. It means like we introduce whenever the particle that all the particle already converge, we try to introduce there is one going out of direction. Why? Because we want to maintain the diversity. If all is like saying that this is the best, then there should be someone or one particle try to go out of the box and then try to let the team to explore more instead of concluding in one direction only. Okay, this is the last part about constraint handling. Constraint and handling, it means that how do you deal with the position or the decision variables that not feasible to your optimization model. Okay, there are several alternatives you can do. First is when your location being generated from the velocity is violate the constraint, you can also decide to not use those velocity. So they will keep in the constraint. We have the formula that x equal x plus v, right? X plus 1 is x plus x0. Okay. The current location x1, x0, v 1. Okay. So the next location is equal the current location plus the speed. If you know that this speed will make the location, when you add with this location, will make this location out of bound or violate the constraint, so you can also decide make this one equal to 0, like what it says here. Okay. And then there are several strategies as well, like introducing penalty value. So whenever your location is more than or violate the constraint, you adopt penalty value. But this is not easy to pull. But there is several strategy as well. Okay. And about the for the two-dimensional variables, it's easier to illustrate like this. Whenever your W is the value of the location, okay, there is basically three strategy: bouncing, adhere, and re-entering. Whenever your variables going hit to the boundary, you calculate the new locations based on the trajectory that this particle going to bounce back. Adhere means it's stick to the boundary. And re-entering means like when you go from this, you go from, and then you can consider from the other side to re-enter the value. Okay. But okay, this is the end. Basically, particle swarm optimization is just only one meta heuristic type that perhaps it's here. Yeah, I think it's 1995, so it's belong to I think not millennial anymore. It's generation Z already. Generation Z here. It's quite famous, but again, there is a lot of algorithms out there. I encourage you to explore as well. Okay, now for the code. I think I will not go in deep with the detail, but basically I will show you how this code can run and solve the algorithm, the problems that we discussed previously, that we illustrate previously, which is this one, I guess. Yeah, this one. And yeah, this maximize f(x) and y 0.5 minus 1 divided by y. Okay, let's open the code. Here you go. I give you the link there. Okay, before I give you this code, let me show you the what kind of problem actually we are working here. Let's try to solve it using, let's say, calculus approach, like derivative and stuff. There is a web for this one. Let's say the problem is this. We can easily write it. You want to maximize x to the power of 0.5 minus 1 divided by y. So this is the maximize square 0.5 is it's equal to square root, right? Square root minus 1 divided by y, where you know that x should not be greater than 5, but should be greater than equal to 0, but less than equal to 5. And it's the same for y. That's the domain. Okay. If you can see here, this is the illustration. And the result, actually, the maximum value can be generated for decision variable x and y is when x and y is equal 5 and 5, where the value, I don't know, let's see. X and 5. Is it? Yeah, this is the value actually, but how many is that one? Okay, here you go. So the value when x equal 5 and 5 and the optimal value is 2.03607. Okay, this can be searched using PSO also. Okay, that's why I created here. Okay, and if you can see here, it's basically similar way with the way I code previously. I have the variable to define the decision variables, and then we have the objective function here, all the variable here. Okay, and then all the code here, I think it's basically follow the code, the algorithms, the pseudocode that I implement here. So if you can read this one, and then you can reflect it here. I will try to find another video to explain this. I'll make another video to explain this, but somehow for today, let's try to make these things, show this one that it can run and find the solution. Okay. I code the objective function around, wait, where is it? Here. We want to find the objective function math power x. Okay, this is the first decision variable, x to the power of 0.5. Basically, it's square root minus 1 divided by x1. x1 is equal y. Okay, so here you go. Here the place I code the objective function, and then when I try to run the algorithm, okay, here we select the W 0.5, C1 is 2, C2 is 2, maximum iteration is 100, number of individuals is 3, and this one I don't think I use it because I already have the iterations. Okay, if you can see here, at the initial iteration 0, the best solution that we found is x equal 3.49, y equals 3.81. So the global best is 1.61. Okay, gradually it's tried to move to the value that we know the objective, the optimal solution is located at x equal 5 and y equal 5. As you can see here, it can also find x equal 5, y equal 5. The G best is 2.04. See, after that we check again, because they cannot actually understood whether this already optimal or not. Okay, so you try, and then they finally ends up after 100 iteration is the global best is 2.04 with x equals 5 and y equal 5. It's exactly the same with what we have with the exact method here using calculus. Okay, basically that's what I'm going to explain about the PSO and the code. You can try it, you can explore about it, you can convert it to Python code as well, but I don't plan to do it right now, maybe perhaps for another class. But for now, this is what I can deliver for the particle swarm optimizations. Again, there is another implementation for TSP, for VRP. It's going to be a little bit different with this, but let's see if I can have time to find you another tutorial to explain about that. Okay. For now, yeah, Arvin, yes.
For the iteration part, because for example in ANN, right, we're the one who sets the epoch so that the